Trump bent the knee to Putin and insulted Canada. An angry Canadian responds. This angry Canadian is me. And I definitely gonna respond. And this is what we'll talk about today. Hello, I'm Elena. Welcome back to my channel, Enough of Propaganda. Today we're not in our usual place where I'm filming, but I think I'm entitled to respond on some lies, invented stuff, and so on. If Trump can say things, I don't see why I can't. I respect my viewers. I'm happy that you are on my channel, Enough of Propaganda. And I'm making this video for you and my American friends and so on, because they need to know the truth. I believe the people who are visiting my channel or subscribers, they're intelligent enough to know what truth is, but they need facts about Canada so they can disprove lies and propaganda. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Despite how angry I am, it's not my intent to basically yell at my American friends. Many of them actually apologized to me already, but the point is, people need to know the facts. This is exactly why I'm doing it for Russians, I'm doing it for Ukrainians, I'm doing it for Canadians, and I don't see why I would lie about Americans. I don't see why I would support lies about America, United States. So let's get on with it. President-elect Donald Trump recently claimed that the United States subsidizes Canada by over 100 million annually. I quote, "No one can answer why we subsidize Canada to the tune of over $100 million a year. Make no sense." He even suggested that Canada should become 51st state of the United States. To make matter worse, he referred to our prime minister as a governor and repeated these insults multiple times. I will not tolerate this. Despite that I don't really favoring Prime Minister Trudeau, I have never voted for him, but I have never voted for Putin either. So Trudeau, unlike Putin, is legally elected Canadian Prime Minister. Putin is not. Putin have never had real legal elections in Russia ever. Whoever want to disprove that, you're welcome to show me when he ever took part in the debates. For example, he was appointed by Yeltsin, and we have never had legal elections with Putin. And the last election was complete sham. So Putin is a usurper. Trudeau is legally elected Canadian Prime Minister. Trump's rhetoric is not only offensive to Canada, but also echoes his admiration for dictators like Putin. Let me be clear. Canadians value our independence and our democracy. Trump has not only insulted Canada, but also Mexico, Panama, and other countries and people. He talks about Greenland, about Denmark, and a whole bunch of other countries. Now he's talking about Gaza. He can't really keep his mouth shut, can he? Guess who he did not dare to insult yet? His buddy Putin. Bloody Russian dictator Putin. Enough is enough. In 20 years living in Canada, I have never met a Canadian who would like to be an American and wanted Canada to be a US state. Yeah, I looked at the numbers and polls. 77% of Canadians literally said Trump where to go about this. We will not want to be in America, a 51st state. And yes, we don't want America to be 11th province of Canada either. You simply guys not good enough. Canada is already great, and you little dictator just trying to make America great again. Unbelievable. But the point is, only 15% of Canadians mentioned that they probably would not mind if Canada will become 51st state, or I don't know, I haven't seen the whole polls to know how the question was formulated in this. And if anything, I know Americans who would like to move to Canada after Trump's re-election. Perhaps the United States, should become province of Canada, some might say, since we're already great. And if you have seen the recent Transparency International Anti-Corruption Index, Corruption Perception Index for 2024, United States 10 points below Canada. Well, I doubt we Canadians, as Canadians, would agree to take United States as a province. Not like they asking about it anyway. Apparently, the American president-elect is not aware that A, Canada is an independent state. B, Canadians have legally elected prime minister. C, Canada was and is, so far, a good friend and neighbor, and is the United States' largest trading partner. And yet to that subsidy myth. Trump's claim of 100 million subsidy is baseless. Fact checkers haven't found no evidence of such aid. Yeah, there is trade deficit, but this is not aid. And America is buying Canadian products because they need it, not because it's a charity to Canada. Let me tell you that Canadian-US trade relationship is largest in the world. The US-Canada trade relationship totaled $923 billion in 2023, with US exports $441 billion and imports $482 billion US. Canada is a top supplier of United States energy, providing 50 to 60% of crude oil and 90% of natural gas imports, along with uranium, fueling US nuclear reactors. It's about 530 million in 2023. Canada also supplies critical materials, minerals, aluminum, lumber, and hydroelectric power to over 1 million United States homes, while importing US agricultural goods, machinery, and technology. And the oil, whatever oil refined in the United States, Canada is buying it. Defense and security, let's talk about that. Canada has always supported the United States. In the aftermath of 9/11, the tragedy of 9/11, Canada hosted thousands of diverted passengers with 38 commercial flights, landing in Gander, for example, Canadian town, in September 11th. Following those terrorist attacks, Canada immediately supported the United States by deploying troops as part of the international coalition in Afghanistan. And Americans landed not only in Gander, they landed in other cities, Vancouver, for example, and so on. About tariffs, I probably will make a special video, but get this understanding. As an economist, I clearly telling you that imposing high tariffs on Canada would hurt the American people badly. So who Trump thinking will pay the price? Canadians. Tariffs, it's like a tax. Everything you buy from Canada which taxed with that tariffs will cost you at least 25% more. Just because President Trump decided to put those tariffs and so on. I would watch the average American family pay $1,200 or $4,000 extra for fuel and food. Canada leads the world in potash exports. That's a quote from Canadian government side, which I provide all the information I provide in the sources. So Canada shipping about 22.8 million tons in 2023, which accounts for over 41% of global exports. The leading destinations of Canadian export, guess what? The United States, 46%, Brazil, 19%, and China, 8%. Great idea of Putin to shoot Russia in the foot by reneging on signed mutually beneficial agreements with other countries, foreign countries. Apparently finds a follower in the United States. How brilliant. Fantastic idea. And by the way, let me remind you who actually signed those tariffs with Canada and Mexico. Donald Trump is in his previous presidency. I bet he was bragging about it on American TV, saying, greatest deal ever! How come all of a sudden greatest deal ever turned around and started to be unfair, horrible deal for poor America is suffering from? Huh?
In short, this is a model agreement that changes the trade landscape forever. And this is an agreement that, first and foremost, benefits working people, something of great importance to all three of us here today.
Canadian companies has many similar problems with Russia in the past. When Russia need to develop oil or anything, they sign the contract, they negotiate how it's supposed to be. Canadian company come in, started to build infrastructure, doing something like that. And the same thing happened with American companies, any foreign companies. And then Russia shoot themselves in the foot by reneging on the deal, said, oh no, now all of a sudden we want 50% or 60% of profit. And you will get smaller and smaller and smaller. And since you already invested in build, you kind of have nothing else to do, like say, okay. Unbelievable. So this is sad to see the same tactics of Russian thugs used by Canada's friend and partner, the United States. I'll give you a quote from Justin Trudeau's speech in response to Trump's tariffs. Trump lied that tariffs somehow related to the border or some sort of fentanyl going through the border. So this is what Canadian Prime Minister said. Our border is already safe and secure, but there is always more work to do. Less than 1% in fentanyl, less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States come from Canada. But hearing concerns from both Canadians and Americans, including the American president himself, we are taking action. What kind of action? The same very action which they promised and they did during Biden's presidency. Almost nothing new, besides they appointed some sort of a border czar or something like that, whatever that means. Neither Mexico nor Canada did anything special just to please American wannabe dictator. Say, hey, there you go. So find out the facts before doing something drastic like that. And Canada is being American friend and partner, so is Mexico. It all could have been decided, and it was decided, by peaceful, normal conversation. But no, American little czar decided to pump his chest like a gorilla in the zoo or a Putin, trying to show himself as a strong leader. Let me tell you that in Russia, whatever they think of strong leader is nonsense. It's basically a psychopath. This is who is strong leader. This is who is Peter the Great. This is who is Stalin, mass murderer. This is mass murderer Putin, who already murdered more than 1 million people. Only in the war in Ukraine. The strong leader is a democratic leader who was democratically elected, who is not afraid to appear on TV, and when the real media, independent media, asking him questions without him giving them questions and answers before, like Putin does in his so-called press conferences. This is who is strong leader, who can do it by himself, who actually legally elected and don't afraid to be not elected next time, because he's not going to be murdered after he lose the power. Everybody else is a weak leader. This is all from weakness, from fear and weakness. But let's follow what is happening in Canada further. For example, Doug Ford, Ontario Conservative Premier, mentioned cutting off energy export to the United States, including Michigan, New York, and Wisconsin, as a potential response. Good luck to Trump begging his buddy Putin for help. If Canada not a good partner for the United States, then perhaps Russia is. Good luck begging him for uranium, for example. Venezuela, Iran, or Saudi Arabia would be better partners, perhaps. Why not? Putin is shaking hands with Hamas and Iranian terrorists. Trump can do the same. Why not? If Canadians were vindictive, we could have a romantic Christmas without electricity. Good luck to them eating cold, uncooked turkey and with candlelights. No electricity for a day, just to let them experience what it is like in some Ukrainian cities, thanks to Russians' bombings. In North Korea, for example, thanks to their little dictator whom Trump admires so much. We have great relationships. Fantastic. And good luck running nuclear power plants without our uranium or rebuilding refineries specifically designed to process heavy Canadian oil. But we're good people. We didn't do that, did we? Not yet, anyways. And by the way, potash. Good luck, American farmers, growing crops without Canadian potash. I see how that worked out very well. So, this is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, immoral, and unfriendly. Perhaps next time the new/old American king wannabe will learn to keep his mouth shut and his dirty hands off our country and our flag. If he thinks tariffs or cutting ties with Canada will hurt us, he's right, but he should consider it. How American families will handle skyrocketing costs of fuel and food. If anybody needs historical reminder, here we go. If Trump thinks invading Canada is a good idea, it's an option. Let me remind him what happened during the War of 1812, when Canadian militias, ingenious allies, and British forces repelled American attacks. In retaliation, British forces burned the public buildings in Washington, D.C., including the White House and the Capitol. And afterwards, what happened? Did Canada claim even the United States territories? No. Canada didn't claim American territory, but returned its troops home. And final thoughts. Trump and Putin, a troubling pattern. Putin is nobody. Russia doesn't have a real economy, a real army, or even real working nukes. When Putin say it's okay to spit on international law or any law and invade neighbors, nobody paying attention until he actually does that and it's a war. Trump's submission to Putin and repeating Putin's propaganda word for word, because Trump's actions showing that Putin is right. There is no international law, there is no international borders, there is only interest of the king of the world, United States. What was Putin saying all along? Nobody mean anything. Europe mean nothing. Canada isn't even a country. United States is the king of the castle and they can do whatever they please, take whatever they want. So Trump thinking, why not? Putin does that, why not me? I can also go and grab Canada and I'll be the biggest country in the world. You attaching lands to the United States. What a great king I'm gonna be. Fantastic. So when Putin says this, it means nothing. Russia isn't a power. United States is a real power. And by echoing Putin's stance that might is right in dismissing international law, Trump undermines United States values and sends a dangerous message to other dictators that they can take whatever they want. Why not? The USA is the real power in the world. This makes Trump's parroting Putin's ideas far more dangerous. I bet Putin is thrilled that his American buddy is repeating his propaganda word for word. At least Russian propagandist Solovyov and his others are thrilled. I'll show you the video a little bit. Russian so-called experts endorse Trump's ideas gladly about that. I personally wouldn't call them experts, they are Russian propagandists. This is Russian propagandist Vladimir Solovyov, kind of like Russian Goebbels. Trump politely said, "It's all good, we will be expanding US borders." Note that the entire Europe is suddenly quiet, so they basically shut up. The inviolability of borders? What inviolability? I believe what Trump is doing benefits us greatly. Trump is totally destroying any illusions that anyone might still have had about the summit of democracies, about respecting opinions of NATO allies. It's like he's saying, who are all of you? He is saying you are all nobodies. He says I will be talking to Putin and Xi Jinping. He's honestly showing things to everyone. With his approach of geopolitical enlargement, he buried the collective West, the formerly united West. There is no collective West, it will never be united again. He, Trump, he means, is asking a question any normal person would ask. Why did you decide that the borders are sacred? Right. What borders? Is Canada even a nation? Canada? Who are you even? For Americans, Canada is a misunderstanding. By taking Canada, Trump is basically saying, Russians, you can take the Baltics. By the way, one of the members of this discussion, Lugavoy, he's the one who was one of the assassins who killed Litvinenko in London. So anyways, as a Russian Canadian, I don't have to be polite all the time as regular normal Canadians are. This is why I take Trump's words personally. I have seen this all done already. I have seen it in the USSR, I have seen that in Russia. So if for any of you it's something new, it's not new for me. I have seen it's done. And I saw where it leading to. Well, look at Ukraine. This is what happens. When a little dictator decided, this is my land, this is what I want. And their opinion doesn't matter. They're not even a country and Ukraine is not even a nation. Russians literally just say that Canada isn't a country, they're not a nation. They are misunderstanding. And this is what happens. Million people dead, wounded, and missing in action. This is what happened. Cities burned, bombed into the ruins. And this is disgusting. Outright disgusting. And one thing when it's bloody dictator Putin, another thing with a democratically elected leader of the democratic country and a leader of the world, the United States. This is big difference. Huge. But we Canadians are polite, but we are not a pushovers. We value our sovereignty and our democracy. If Trump thinks that he can bully us into submission, he's sorely mistaken. Let me remind him of one more thing. Putin's easy war, little successful war in Ukraine. How well did that go? And Ukraine isn't a member of NATO and didn't have a modern weapons by the time Putin started to do full-scale invasion in Ukraine. So Canada is NATO member and we are standing with our allies. So Mr. Trump, it's time for you to learn some manners and apologize, not just to Canadians, but to everyone who you wronged. Canada does not bend the knee to dictators or bullies. We stand for what is right, and we will defend our values. I hope it wouldn't come to that. And me and my husband, we just recently returned from the trip to United States before all of this tariff thing showed up. We just crossed the border, not too far from British Columbia, and actually stayed in some campgrounds nearby some American military base, and the jet planes were flying above our head, making noise and this and that. But I know American people, and I still believe in American people. I believe that they are no better. I believe you know better. And they are. We talked to many of them, and actually met a guy who actually met Gorbachev, Russian President Gorbachev, Mikhail Gorbachev, when he was visiting the United States. It was a very interesting meeting. So Americans we talk to, they don't support all of this. They against it. And they don't support all that imperialistic expansion plans of Trump. They just don't. And hopefully, they will stand up for themselves before it's too late. Russians waited way too long when they could use democratic changes, which we had at the time in the country, to make things right. They choose not to. They decided, some tried, some didn't, but they decided maybe it isn't worth it. Maybe this, maybe that. But they couldn't. They didn't. And now it's too late. Putin's personal army, National Guard, he has his personal army, the size of the United States forces in Europe before the Cold War ended. On the end of Cold War, basically, right? When the Cold War ended. So it's very hard now, and bloody will be. If somebody's standing up against Putin, they ended up in jail. Because they are not in mass rebellion in Russia. And because Putin has laws on his side, army, his personal army, he doesn't have to ask permission from anybody, a Russian Duma or anyone to use. To squash any rebellion they can. Americans has guns, Americans has values, Americans value their freedom and democracy, and this is what I'm hoping for, that they use democracy while they still have one to stop Putin's and Trump's aggression and expansion and imperialistic thinking. Well, good luck to you and to us all, because for some American stupidity, we are paying the price. My country, Canada, and so will be the rest of the world, include Ukrainians. I hope for the best. I still believe in American people. I did not give up on my American friends. Learn the truth and stay informed. Thank you for watching. See you later.